Thanks for tuning into the Artemis Channel podcast, In the Blind. Today we're talking turkey hunting 101 and getting started with your first season of turkey hunting with my buddy Gene Meyer.
We are getting irritated with the club.
It's a fawn feather?
Yeah. Gobble, gobble, gobble.
Gobble, gobble, gobble. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, just kicking back, relaxing, and recovering.
Nice. Yeah. Those of you who don't know, Gene had some desperately needed surgery a couple weeks ago now.
Yep.
And he's well on the way to recovery. I got to know, buddy, what is that freaking giraffe doing behind you?
Oh, this giraffe, I got that on an archery hunt over in Danbury, on a safari in Danbury, New Hampshire. It was quite the hunt.
Was that a DIY job or was that a guided hunt?
No, that was definitely do it yourself.
Yeah.
Do it yourself and made up.
I'm guessing that you did your do it yourself taxidermy on that too.
I certainly did. Yeah. The wife was quite impressed.
Yeah, I'm sure of that. Hey, we kind of wanted to talk about turkey hunting 101 and backing up a little bit. Gene is the guy who got me hunting years ago, and years he worked on me to get me to go turkey hunting, and no, F you, Gene, I'm not going. No. Finally I relented and had a ball and never looked back. And I think really that if you're going to take a new hunter out, turkey hunting is by far the best way to go.
It absolutely is.
So I think what we want to talk about today is if I'm a new hunter, how do I get started? So, Gene, where you've been such a good mentor to me, where do you think, if I don't have a guy that I work with like you, how do I find a mentor if I'm a guy who wants to turkey hunt and don't have that guy?
The first step would be, one, if you have friends of yours that do hunt, pick their brain a little bit and find out who in that clique turkey hunts, or if they have a friend that turkey hunts, and see if you can get in touch with them and start picking their brain. And aside from getting some literature and start reading on it, you got a phone that's right at the palm of your hands that you can do some research on. But really, you find a friend that turkey hunts or knows somebody that does, and get with them. Go online, find a hunting site that you can put a message out there, and people in our community are more than willing to help.
Especially when it comes to turkey season. Guys might hold on to their best deer ground like they're holding on to their secret fishing hole, but there's been it's like night and day when it comes to turkey hunting. I also would like to add to that, there's a lot of different Facebook groups that you're going to find that, the local National Wild Turkey Federation, the local chapters for that. There's a lot of outdoor groups. Gene's got one that he runs on Facebook. There's a lot of these Facebook pages. I believe in New Hampshire we got New Hampshire Deer Hunter. There's a lot of people in there. There's turkey hunting Facebook groups and pages, and I would certainly say if you're that guy, you can go in there. Go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, just do a quick search when you're on Facebook and type it in, and it comes up, and click on one of them, join, and put the question out there, and most of the people on there will give you some advice, and you'll get the one-offs, but most people want to help. It just can't stress enough, like me bugging you.
It was years.
Yeah.
It was years. No, F you, I'm not doing that. No. Well, now I got a freaking YouTube channel and a podcast and all this other crap. So yeah. So
it's a great way, find one of your hunting buddies that knows somebody, and just pick their brain, and then start watching some podcasts and learn your calls.
All right, so let's talk about I don't know if I want to talk about calls first I can go out with a call, right? But if I'm out there doing this with my, I'm out there in jeans and a t-shirt, I'm probably not going to be very successful. So, what do we need for gear as far as what do we need for camo, Gene?
You want a good set of camo, top to bottom. Deer hunting, you don't need camo. You can go out there whatever you want to go in. But with turkey hunting, their eyesight, their hearing, everything, the camo is key. You got to be covered. Anyone, you can find, blind squirrel can find a nut. Sure, you can walk out there in a red shirt and purple shorts and walk into a bird, but rule of thumb, you got to be covered. You got to have good camo, face camo, hat, gloves, and stay still. So really good camo is important.
I know that there's a lot of guys that'll do this budget wise. I started budget wise. I bought the Walmart camo and got out with Gene. I know that you can spend a lot of money on this stuff. I will tell you that buying good gear costs a lot of money, but it's worth it. So if you know that you're into it, like me, I bought the cheap stuff the first year, and then I was like, oh, I'm doing this. And
You get hooked pretty easy.
yeah, and it stepped up into to bought some nice gear. But I think Gene's got a point. Their eyesight is unbelievable, and their hearing is even better. And in one of our turkey hunting videos last year, we talked about how if they could smell you, the only place you'd get them would be at the supermarket.
Yep.
All right, so I've got my head is covered, my face is covered, my upper body, my lower body. Let's talk about what do I need for firearm?
Really, it comes down to preference. Everyone thinks, a lot of them think now, because they got these 3.5 inch mags, you got to go bigger, 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 bigger.
I don't know about you. I'm all set with a 3.5 inch. That's
Yeah, sure, it's fun to shoot, I guess, but do you need it? Absolutely not. I brought my son on at 10 years old, and he had a little single shot. I think it was an H&R or something, a Henry, or little single shot 20 gauge. And he shot his first bird, 24 pounds. It was with a 2 3/4 inch #4 load. And he folded it. And his next three birds, youth weekend after that, he killed every one of them with that little single shot 20 gauge. So get a gun that you're comfortable with and pattern it. Know where the majority of the pellets are hitting. And that's all you need. So, you can do 410 now, 20 gauge, 12 gauge, and archery, but wait on the archery until you get really good at
yeah,
it.
because we're talking about newbies. So
Yeah.
I just watched a video the other day where they were shooting 410, 28, 20, 12, and 10. And the 410 hung right in there with the other four or five hung right in there inside of 30 yards. Myself, I mean, I've taken a poke at birds a lot longer than 30 yards, but that 30-yard mark for my current 12 gauge that I hunt with is ideal. But you can do it with a 410, and
Absolutely.
if you find that you're a guy who or a gal who's a little recoil shy or not crazy about all the noise, 410 is a real good option. But yeah,
Yeah.
28 and 12, there's a lot of good rounds out there or good guns out there. You don't need to spend a lot of money on these tungsten heavy shot. You can spend a lot
No,
of money and you don't need to.
you can spend as much as you want, but you don't need to. And for me, the big
Again,
thing with turkey hunting,
we're talking about getting started, not
right,
okay, I want to be able to kill a bird at 60 yards, but I'm okay, then maybe you need that extra oomph.
right. But the big thing and the fun thing and the challenge for me for turkey hunting is how close can you get them in? You want to get that bird in tight, and that's the challenge. So you get a bird inside at 20 yards, you get a bird at 10 yards in your lap. I don't care what you're going to spit on that bird. A 20 gauge is going to do the job.
Well, that's true, but I know we've had two, over here on Team Artemis, we've had 2 misses inside of 15 yards because
There's a lot more air around them.
Your pattern. Tom had one his first or second year where we called that bird into like 7 yards. And because at that, his pattern was about this. And me being the horrible dad that I was, I didn't help him pattern the gun ahead of time, so he didn't know what his effective range wasn't. Because I knew, this is a 12 gauge Winchester turkey gun. This gun's good 35, 40 yards anyway. And I'm watching him at, he has this bird putting on a show at 25 yards, and I'm like, what are you waiting for? So that one was on me. But you can miss the closer they get. You got to know what you're doing, and that's what Gene says: pattern your gun.
You're shooting, don't forget, and that's the other thing too. You're not taking a body shot. You're shooting neck and head. So you got a 4-inch circle. So when you got a pattern that's super tight, you can blow right by them pretty easy.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, I've got my gun. I've got my camo. Do I need to have decoys if I'm by myself? Do I gotta have, top of the line, Dave Smith? Oh boy, I saw a video the other day. The guy's hunting with Dave Smith decoys, and it looked like a real bird.
Yeah, they're good decoys, but do you need a decoy? Absolutely not. The first 5 years of me hunting myself, I never used a decoy. Get them coming in and then shut your mouth up and don't call and let them come. But it's so hard to do and real easy to say.
And sure. And this is when you start talking about that stuff, it's real. The deal is if you can get a mentor, like when I went with Gene, I wasn't calling my first bird in. I had no calls. I had no decoys. I had a shotgun. I had to borrow camo from him. I showed up. He's like, "Where's your camo?" I'm like, "I don't have any camo." And well, here, put this on, put that on. So with a good mentor, those guys are going to help you. They want to call in a bird for you. You get an experienced turkey hunter, and they're going to want to help you.
Yeah, it's more fun calling them in.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to go call them in for Joe this year and Tom and I got turkey meat still in the freezer. I don't care if I get one or not, so whatever. All right, so I don't need my decoys. Let's say I want to start working on calls. What do I want to start with?
Really, the number one call, at least when you're a beginner and you're just starting out, is just what the name says on the call. Easy Yelper. It's a box call, but it's a plunger call. You can push it and you can pull it. You just keep it chalked and practice, practice, practice. That's your easiest call to use.
If you watch our last season turkey video, Gene's very experienced turkey hunter, and he's over there with his Easy Yelper going, making it purr. So that was my first call. I don't carry it a lot because I got some of the other ones that I like a lot better, but
it's just starting out and you're learning.
That's easy to do.
That's an easy call to use, and it is really effective.
And you're not going to spend a lot of money.
No,
not an expensive call. Easy place to start. Easy place to buy. Any one of those local big chain sports shops are going to have that stuff. Tell me what else we want to talk about as far as the different calls.
From your box, from the Easy Yelper plunger style call, your other type box calls, your paddle call. Yeah, right there. There you go. Right. And that's another one. It's a two-handed call. Very effective, very good tone once you learn it.
My favorite, nice and loud in the woods. I'm not real good at it when it comes to I know I've seen guys that they can gobble with it, and I'm not that guy, but I like that call a lot. And like Gene said, it's very easy to learn how to use that. Just there's a lot of, if you buy some of these, if you buy a call, you can go on YouTube and look up, how to use an Easy Yelper, how to use a box call. Let's talk about. I've graduated. I'm on my second season now, Gene. What do I want to move up to?
Now you want to move up to your pot calls. And there's a variety of pot calls. They're really effective. They got great tone between slate and glass and
Yeah.
ceramic.
Now, what I like
Takes a lot
about
more practice with those.
what you got to practice with this, and what I like about this one is the tone. My third year, Clem and I were out, and there was a mouthy hen first opening day, and she is going absolutely bananas. And Clem looks at me and says, "There's another hunter down there." And I said, "No, no, she just gave us a lesson on, you know, cuts and runs." And he was mad. It was a lot of fun, and you can get a lot of sounds out of these. Gene's son Jason is especially good. He makes that thing purr, just this little touches. It's really nice.
Yeah,
Um,
they have some really good calls and really good tones. And like anything, practice, practice, practice.
with those, you can spend a little more money now. Um, you know, if you're getting into that type of stuff, I mean, you can go to Bass Pro and you can get an inexpensive one. I bought Tom a Primos crystal, and he likes that a lot. It gets a real bright call, and he's been able to wake up some toms where I'll be sitting there using my slate, and I don't get any action, and he'll hit that crystal, and it just wakes him up, and it's really bright and a different note. So there'll be different notes you might like, and things like that. And lastly, we kind of want to talk about the diaphragm.
Yeah, your
Let's talk
mouth
about
call.
the pros and cons of the diaphragm, Gene.
Hard to use. That's they're hard to learn. Really hard to learn. Took me a couple of years to really get
Suck
effective with
at it.
them.
I'm not good.
That that the con part is they're hard to learn and master. And if you use them and you're not good with them, you're not going to get that bird in. The pro with that call, easy
Hey,
operation. There's no your hands are free. Both
hands
hands are
free.
free. That's your big thing with them. I love the mouth call. Those are my favorites.
Gene's
Um,
very proficient at his. Uh, I've seen him use it as a locator call, and he's loud. He gets a real projected note with it. But Gene's been hunting for forever, and me not so much. So, all right. So we've
and the other part with those calls that we can kind of segue into here is not just for the turkey calls, but you want to, get a good owl call to locate the birds and roost the birds in the evening. An owl call or a crow call. I have more luck with an owl call um, on locating them. But you want to have that in your bag of your tool bag, so to speak.
if you
As
watch a
well.
lot of these pro hunting shows, a lot of those guys will do the owl call themselves, you know. And I'm not great with it. Call in an owl that way, but not haven't had a turkey gobble on me on it. But turkey shot gobbles. Let's talk about shot gobbles a little bit, Gene, and why they do that, and how that can help us find them. And maybe we get into scouting here in a little bit. We've got probably 20 minutes that we could go, but I think we're probably 10 minutes is going to get us done here. So talk about shot gobbles and how that works, and why they do it, and the kind of noises we can make that make them do it.
It's well with the shock gobble. I mean, it's kind of funny because pretty much anything that is a loud, sudden burst will get them to pop off. I've slammed my car door and have them pop off. And one time I was out at daybreak and a church bell started going, and every time the church bell went, Don bird up on the hill would pop right off instantly on it. They
We
hear that noise and it kind of shocks them or spooks them a little bit, and they just let on a roar.
we were. I don't remember where we were. I don't remember where we were. Somebody's car alarm was going off, and every time that thing reset and started over again, those birds that we were looking for were popping off. So, um, how do I go about scouting, Gene? How am I going to find these birds?
Well, you want to kind of, if you're hunting at all, if you've never hunted, well, again, that's where your mentor is going to come in.
Right.
But if you're a deer hunter and you've just never turkey hunted, you're going to kind of go to the areas, fields and ridges and oaks, and you want to be out there early. I know people walk in the woods at 10 o'clock, boom, call a bird in, but you want to be out there early. The birds are going to start singing first thing in the morning. So you're going to do some scouting. You're going to find those areas, some fields, that roll up into a ridge, and listen for them popping off. Get out in the woods and some oaks. If you find a lot of scratchings, you're going to want to scout those areas.
Now, what we have found is they locally, as they get a little more pressure, they tend to be gobbling in the roost, and then they clam up when they hit the ground. Gene can maybe speak to that a little bit. Certainly the hunting pressure, but we're not the only ones that are trying to get turkeys in the freezer. Not that, but you think about every predator that's out there wants to eat one of those.
Yeah, they all want turkey.
So it's a little bit of self-preservation with some of these things. They'll hit the ground and they'll pop off, and then the buddy will get eaten by a coyote or a bobcat or something like that. Next thing you know, I'm gonna shut up now.
Yeah, or you get them gobbling like crazy on the roof. They hit the ground and then they just clam up.
Clam up.
That
Yep.
doesn't mean your hunt is over. They will come in silent. The bird I shot last year, the first one I shot last year, I had him gobbling for 45 minutes, and then he finally hit the ground. He gave one gobble a little ways away from where he had been roosted, so I knew he was on the ground. And then the next 2 hours, never heard from him. And I stood up, took my face mask off, and I looked over to my right, and there he is standing there 40 yards from me.
Yeah.
Came in completely silent.
Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite turkey story?
Oh, I have way too many favorite turkey stories.
Yeah?
I think they're all favorite turkey stories.
You must have one that sticks out. You got one for us?
Boy, oh boy. Probably with my dad down in New York.
Okay.
We had set up and we worked a bird for a good, I don't know, probably close to 3 hours. And he would come in. We never got eyes on him. He'd come in and then go back the other direction. And after 3 hours, he was going further away. And this is when I learned this particular move to do when you're hunting with a partner. My dad, we were sitting a little bit apart, and he crawled over to me and he whispered in my ear that he was going to sneak away behind me, go in the opposite direction of the bird. He was just going to slowly work away, and he was going to call as he goes and get further behind me and go. And he snuck away and started calling, and that bird all of a sudden started gobbling and working right back straight towards me. And the further my dad got, the closer the bird got, and I finally got to where I could see him. And what a beautiful bird. And he's now almost in gun range. Well, that had taken probably 45 minutes. And I'm all set. This bird's another 15 yards and he's right in my lap, and I've got him dead to rights. And I already had that bird on the wall. He was a good one. Well, my dad, being older and more deaf than I am,
What?
my dad, who was elderly.
I know. I was being funny.
Oh yeah. What?
What?
So my dad, not knowing the bird was it was actually working and the bird was coming to me, decided, okay, the bird's not coming, and he stood up and he starts walking back to me just before the bird got into range, and the bird, of course, busted him, busted me, and off he went. Um, End result, we didn't get the bird, but it was a good lesson to learn um, on a takeaway, so to speak, technique. Um, didn't get the bird, but it was a valuable lesson, and we've used it over and over and over. Very successful.
I tried one similar with that with Tom. One of the things that Gene and I had talked about, Gene had kind of put into my head, if we hear one far away and we think he's coming, shut up, stop calling. So we call. I can't hear it. Tom calls with that bright call. He hears it. This bird's probably 300 yards away, and there's foliage in the woods now, so I can't hear it. Tom says he's out there. So we clam up and we wait. He gets probably 250, 200 yards, and then I can hear him. So we both call one more time, and then we shut up. 45 minutes later, this bird's at about 100 yards downhill from us through the foliage. We still can't see him, and now he's a little bit fired up. So he and I start chattering a little bit back and forth, and we can tell that he gets to about 75 yards. Again, downhill, we still can't see him. And he's hung up, and I did that same technique that your dad did with you. I looked at Tom and I, went off behind him, and I was, as I went, and then I'd rustle in the leaves like I was digging for bugs and stuff like that. And that's the one where, we called him into Tom's lap, and his pattern was probably that big, and it went right underneath his beak. So, but that was one of our favorite hunts. I got to tell you, one of the ones where you and I were out my first year, and we worked these birds on this farm that we were at, and they went by us, not coming to this call that Gene was doing, 200 yards away from us, and they were going by. We could see, and Gene says, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know." And he's like, "Well, we can get to the other end of this farm if we go out to the truck, which was like a mile away, and beat feet all the way around them. We can get down in front of them before they get down there and cross the river." So I said, "Sure, let's go for it." So we run back to the truck, get back over there, get back in front of the birds, and Gene and I are walking up. Now, he's already tagged out, so he's not carrying a gun, and I'm behind him, which probably wasn't the safest move. And we come up over this knoll, and there's a pile of brush, and out come these two heads and look right at us. And Gene's always, "Now, don't let him hear you, and be quiet." And these birds are at like 12 yards. I said, "Gene, he's right there." So I get ready to shoot. Gene's in front of me, so I can't. The birds go that way. Gene goes that way, and the birds and Gene stay in line. So there's no shot. And by the time I thought to run up and get next to Gene or in front of Gene, they were 75 yards away, and we didn't have a shot. So that was one of my favorite hunts, and that was the one that really hooked me, because it was just, we sat there peeing our pants laughing afterwards because it was hysterical. So that's one of my favorite hunts. All right, so that's about it for tonight. We're going to run out of time here. Gene, tell us where we can find you on social media.
Well, I do have an outdoor page called The Great Outdoors. That's on Facebook. Before I accept anybody on it, I have two questions about, are you against hunting and fishing, and stuff that you have to answer. If you don't answer it, I don't accept you. I want like-minded people on there. I don't mind anybody that doesn't hunt, as long as they're not against it. Because let's face it, the great outdoors, there's a lot of stuff to do aside from just hunt. It kind of segued into kind of a hunting page, but I really wanted it for anybody that's into the great outdoors.
Yeah, we talk about a lot of stuff, especially we get into the off season. We're finishing up our maple season now, and I post maple videos and stuff like that in there. And training with the dog in the summertime and things like that. So we do a lot of other stuff there. Um, so that's kind of it for tonight. We're going to come back. Sounds like we're going to revisit this for part two, where we're going to get into maybe
Yeah, because there's a lot more to it than just the basics. So we can go a little further, and you know, there's some things you really want to key on. When you are calling a bird in initially, you want to assume it's a person, not just a. Don't just assume it's a turkey. You're out there in full camo and hidden.
yeah.
So
I
there's
kind of want to think about that too. I want to talk about reaping. Is that the right word?
what's I didn't hear you.
Fanning, reaping.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I want
yeah,
to. I want to talk about that. Not a fan.
yeah.
Not a
No,
fan. That was not intended. But I'm not a fan of that. We want to talk about fair chase. There's been a lot of stuff in the news here in New Hampshire about making sure that we've got a couple of guys that were not fair chase this deer season, and fair chase is key. So we want to talk about fair chase and some of that stuff. So we'll get into that, but we appreciate you guys hanging in here for this half hour of our podcast, and look for us to come back for another episode here later on. Gene, say goodnight.
yeah. Well, stay in touch. Good talking to everybody, and we'll see you the next time out in the woods.
Yeah, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate you guys, and have a great time. We'll see you later.